the pressure on them. This is the same shit that happened in 2018, okay? The same thing that happened in 2018. I was down here volunteering as a board worker. I asked the hard question. Why are these ballots that we have where the vote has been moved from the Democrat candidate? They have been removed by security. Okay? Guys, we gotta keep the pressure up. They call me every name in the book. You see my face. See my mugshot. They had me falsely arrested, okay? Do not back in.
Americans are rising up against the massive Democrat voter fraud that's trying to steal this election. In this video, we're going to take a look at the demonstrations that are taking place at key election counting centers, how such demonstrations are turning up the heat on corrupt ballot counters and electors, and how the media is trying but failing to cover up this massive fraud. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Would appreciate your smacking that bell and subscribe button, but I want to get right into this. First, let's give a huge shout out and a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our good friends over at Noble Gold. If you're sick of low returns and volatility from the market, then it really is time to look at gold and silver, and that's where our good friends over at Noble Gold come in. There's frankly never been a better time to start a gold or silver IRA in your portfolio, and the amazing staff over at Noble Gold are ready to help you in any way that they can. And if that's not incentive enough, they are offering this 1/10 ounce solid gold American Eagle proof coin with every qualifying IRA or 401k rollover going on through November. So don't wait. Click on that link below or visit their website at noblegoldinvestments.com or give them a call at 877-646-5347. Make sure to mention my name, Dr. Steve Turley, and let's ride that gold wave together. All right, so let's dive right in here. We are seeing Americans rising up to challenge head-on the blatant attempt by the Democrats and their willing accomplices in the mainstream Marxist media to steal an election that President Trump obviously won. Now, my last video that I did in the early morning hours of the election argued that Trump had basically won the re-election. He was coasting with about 295 electoral votes. He was leading by hundreds of thousands of votes in Wisconsin and Michigan. And it's super huge in Pennsylvania. So we could all go to bed that night, rest easy, wake up in the morning, and watch conceding Joe Biden, all that good stuff. It was especially the case given the fact that he who wins Florida and Ohio has won 26 of the last 27 elections. And by the way, where Iowa goes, so goes Wisconsin and Michigan. Iowa went for Trump by 8 points. So obviously with the fundamentals working in his favor, Michigan and Wisconsin were going to go in his direction. He was winning the highest level of the minority vote of any Republican in recent memory. He was winning the suburbs, the exurbs. Suburban women did not defect from Trump as the media was promising that they would. Senior citizens were not defecting from Trump. We saw that particularly in Florida counties. Again, that's another gauge. In every election since the 1960s, where Florida trends either to the left or to the right, the Rust Belt trends as well. So these are all fixed historical precedents. And then we all wake up only to find that hundreds of thousands of votes mysteriously dropped out of the sky, virtually 100% of which are all for Biden. Suddenly, the over 90% of Wisconsin voter rolls show up at about 4 a.m., interestingly enough, when everyone's sleeping, 105% turnout in some districts. And all of a sudden, Sleepy Joe wins Wisconsin and Michigan. Literally, his lead comes out of nowhere. Moreover, we have Pennsylvania's attorney general and their governor purposely obfuscating the vote process and the vote counting, all as Trump gained a historic lead in the state. So clearly, it is patently obvious that we are seeing voter fraud and election rigging on unprecedented levels, all inside Democrat states with Democrat governors. Michigan and Wisconsin both have Republican legislatures, as I believe. So I'm waiting for those legislatures to get involved here. If they don't, it's time for a third party. It's time to throw these guys out with Fox News. We're being told by the mainstream media that there's nothing to see here. There's no evidence of voter fraud at the least. All as videos of poll workers actually changing and tampering with votes are swarming the internet. Now, keep in mind, this is the same media that told us that Joe Biden was going to win by 20 points. He was going to turn Texas blue. He ended up getting the least amount of Texas counties of any Democrat presidential challenger ever. And that the Trump administration had colluded with Russia in order to win the 2016 election. That media expects us to believe them now about election rigging. We didn't believe them in their coverage of the 2020 election, obviously. They were totally repudiated by the results of this election, and yet they expect us to believe them now, believe them when they say there's no evidence of election rigging, when we can see it with our very own eyes on videos that are swarming the internet. All right, so all of this sets the stage for what we're seeing, particularly in Arizona, where hundreds of pro-Trump protesters have gathered at the Maricopa County Elections Department to voice their opposition to how the votes are being counted there without GOP oversight. Specifically, they want to see Republicans in place to oversee the process by which the ballots are being counted, which they're supposed to do. Such concerns are perfectly justified, not only in terms of what we're seeing in terms of the videos being circulated on the internet, but also in terms of an official report by committee chaired by Jimmy Carter, of all people, a 2005 bipartisan report authored by the Commission on Federal Election Reform, which concluded that absentee ballots and mail-in voting remain the single largest source of potential voter fraud in American elections. So this is not even supposed to be controversial, but it suddenly became controversial after the mainstream Marxist media and the Democrats together decided that 2020 would be won, or better, stolen, through a massive mail-in ballots effort pushed by big tech and professional sports, all in an effort to be able to basically steal the election for the Democrats. So as we're actually watching this play out, Americans are now rising up. Liberty-loving Americans are coming out and demanding that Republican officials be allowed to oversee the ballot counting process. And among the slogans that were being chanted, I think you'd be very interested in this one. Check this one out.
A lot of people in the crowd are not wearing masks. We're keeping a respectful distance, but a loud and very boisterous crowd. You'll start hearing them start up here. And they're actually chanting, "Fox News sucks. Fox News sucks." The reason why they're chanting that is because Fox News called Arizona for Biden yesterday, and a lot of people are angry about that. We have not called Arizona. A lot of other.
So as you can see, or I guess better hear, not only did Fox News cause irreparable harm to our nation in their impulsive calling of Arizona for Biden. Keep in mind, Biden lost more counties in Texas than any previous Democrat presidential candidate in history. And Fox sat on it. They refrained from calling Texas for hours. Trump won Florida by 3.5% of the vote, and Fox sat on Florida for hours. But they call Arizona for Biden before a single vote is counted. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the guy on Fox who called Arizona for Biden is a registered Democrat. Okay, so not only has Fox News caused irreparable harm to the nation, but they basically killed themselves in the process. They've alienated themselves from their very own loyal audience. Regardless, as this is going on in Maricopa County, there was also a Protect the Vote rally held at the Arizona State Capitol. Take a look at this.
Treated, pay your taxes, you work hard.
What the hell is this, guy?
Shame on Fox News.
You can't count 600,000 votes? Bullshit. The problem right
We need to go to the elections office.
And this rising up is exactly what we need in Arizona, because President Trump is on track to win the state. The remaining ballots are coming in from deep red districts that promise to vote overwhelmingly for Trump, upwards of a margin that could be anywhere from 10 to 30,000 votes. Even Rachel Maddow is figuring that out over at MSNBC, who, by the way, again, and kudos to that reporter at the rally there, who would have ever imagined that we would see a day when the ultra-left MSNBC would be giving us a fairer and more insightful election coverage than Fox News. I mean, reality is stranger than fiction, is it not? So the Trump campaign expects to win Arizona by between 10 to 30,000 votes when all's said and done. And why it's taking so long, I have no flipping idea, outside, again, of attempts to rig and fraud. Now over in Detroit, protesters are starting to call out the shenanigans going on there. Check this video out.
Okay, in front of the polling center where they're counting the votes, where people are just dumping piles and piles of tablets on the top of the table. And a handful of people are looking through them. There's supposed to be 5 people there. There's not 5 people. Sometimes there's only 3 people. So when people are taking pictures of this, they're taking big cardboard pieces of paper and holding them up so you can't see what's going on inside. It's complete chaos, but most importantly, they don't tell us how many GOP people are in there. They're only going by the register that people sign in this morning. Nobody was told to sign out when you leave. So it's complete
So they won't let any
It's
GOP
complete nonsense.
people in because the GOP people were not told to sign out.
Exactly.
That's the scam.
This is not a fair election. This is a joke. This is a joke. This is bullying. This is intimidation. This is steal the election however you can. I'm tired. I hope you are too.
We have a Supreme Court order in our favor to allow us to observe. Do they not know this?
Sir, are you an attorney?
Now, I think this speaks for itself, does it not? Again, these kinds of eyewitness testimonies are being completely ignored and dismissed by the same mainstream media that told us Biden was going to win by 14 points and the Russian collusion hoax was real. Okay? They lied to us about the campaign. They lied to us about Russia. And now they're lying to us about the campaign's aftermath. That's all they do at this point. So the fantastic news is that whether it's in the form of mass protests at election departments or whether it's simply forwarding videos of blatant vote tampering and flooding the internet with obvious evidence of election rigging for everyone to see, Americans are indeed rising up and challenging head on this Democrat and media attempt at stealing this election. We're not going to let them do it. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on how the pollsters have been revealed